In a quiet meadow where wildflowers swayed like gentle dancers, and tall grasses hummed softly when the wind passed through, there lived a very small mouse named Elowin. Elowin was soft gray, with round ears, bright observant eyes, and a tiny heart that carried a very big longing. He watched the world carefully. He listened deeply. And yet, he often felt unseen. Other mice scurried in busy groups, gathering seeds, building burrows, sharing warmth and chatter. They moved quickly, confidently, as though they already knew their place. Elowin lingered at the edges. Not rejected, not chased away, simply overlooked. And sometimes, being unnoticed made the world feel enormous, and himself very small. Each morning, before the sun rose fully over the meadow, Elowin would step quietly from his little hollow beneath a curved root. He loved the early hours, when the air felt fresh with possibility, when dew clung to every blade of grass, when silence wrapped the land like a soft blanket. In those moments, he imagined what it might feel like to have a friend. Not just someone nearby, but someone who would notice him, listen to him, sit beside him, without hurry. One gentle morning, as pale gold light stretched across the earth, Elowin followed a narrow winding path he had never dared to explore before. The path curved through clusters of blue wildflowers, dipped beneath arching stems, and led toward a place where the grass grew tall and whispering. Elowin paused often, listening. Then he heard a soft tapping sound, rhythmic, careful, patient. Curious, he stepped forward, and saw a small creature pecking steadily at a fallen twig. It was a woodpecker, with warm russet feathers, and bright steady eyes. Her name was Taurel. She tapped, paused, listened, then tapped again. Elowin watched quietly until she noticed him. "You move very softly," Taurel observed, tilting her head. "I try not to disturb what is peaceful," Elowin replied. Taurel studied him for a moment. "Would you like to sit with me while I work?" she asked. Elowin blinked, surprised. No one had ever invited him to simply be present. He settled beside the twig, watching her patient rhythm, listening to the gentle echo of each tap. They spoke little, but silence between them felt comfortable, not empty. When Taurel finished, she said, "If you wander this path again, you will find me here." Elowin walked home that day with something new in his chest. Not certainty, but warmth. Days passed. Elowin returned often to the tall grass path. Sometimes he sat with Taurel. Sometimes he simply listened to the wind. And slowly, the meadow began to feel less vast. One afternoon, while exploring a shaded hollow near a smooth cluster of stones, Elowin heard the soft trickle of water. He followed the sound, stepping carefully across moss, until he reached a narrow stream, clear and shining. There, resting on a sun-warmed rock, was a small turtle named Virion. Virion moved slowly, thoughtfully, as though each motion held meaning. Elowin approached with quiet curiosity. "May I sit here?" he asked. Virion blinked gentle eyes. "You may sit wherever patience lives," the turtle replied. Elowin settled beside the rock. They watched the water together, listening to its steady flowing song. After a while, Elowin spoke. "Sometimes I feel like I am searching for a place that will welcome me," he admitted softly. Virion dipped one foot into the stream. "Water does not demand belonging," the turtle said slowly. "It moves, and in moving, it connects." Elowin watched sunlight shimmer across the surface. The words settled inside him, calm, steady, reassuring. Before he left, Virion offered a small smooth pebble. "For remembering stillness," the turtle said. Elowin carried it carefully. As seasons gently shifted, Elowin continued his wandering. He met others along the way. High among swaying reeds lived a dragonfly named Seraphim, whose wings shimmered with delicate color. Seraphim taught Elowin how light changes everything it touches. Beneath a hollow log lived a gentle beetle named Orlean, who spoke of strength found in persistence, in moving forward even when unseen. Each meeting, each shared moment, added a quiet thread to Elwyn's heart. And yet, one question remained. Where did he belong? One evening, as twilight painted the sky in soft lavender, Elwyn stood near a gathering of field mice. They huddled together, sharing food, warmth, conversation. Elwyn longed to step closer. But uncertainty held him still. What if they did not notice him? What if they preferred louder voices, quicker movements, brighter confidence? He turned away, carrying his quiet longing back to his hollow. That night, beneath a sky scattered with stars, Elwyn could not sleep. He thought of Tyrell's invitation, Virion's steady wisdom, Seraphine's shimmering flight, Orlean's gentle perseverance. He thought of how each had welcomed him, not because he changed, but because he arrived honestly. And slowly, he understood something important. Belonging does not begin with others. It begins when we allow ourselves to be seen. Morning arrived, calm and clear. Elwyn stepped from his hollow, heart trembling, but steady. He walked toward the gathering mice. They moved busily, unaware. Elwyn paused, then stepped forward. "I would like to sit with you," he said gently. No grand speech. No apology. Only truth. The mice turned. Some curious, some surprised, some simply observant. One small mouse stepped closer. "You walk very quietly," she said. "Yes," Elwyn replied. Another mouse spoke. "You listen more than you speak." "Yes," Elwyn answered. Silence lingered. Then the first mouse nodded. "There is space here," she said. Elwyn sat among them. At first, he felt unsure. But he did not hide. He remained as he was, calm, observant, sincere. And slowly, conversation flowed around him, including him, welcoming him. Days passed. Elwyn did not stop wandering. He visited the stream, the tall grass, the hollow log, the swaying reeds. He shared stories, listened deeply, offered quiet companionship. Friendship grew, not suddenly, but steadily. Then one afternoon, the sky darkened without warning. Wind swept across the meadow, bending grasses low. Rain fell, heavy and fast. Animals scattered, seeking shelter. Elwyn remembered a hidden hollow beneath broad roots, a place dry and safe. "Follow me," he called, voice steady despite the storm. Some mice hesitated, but others trusted. They hurried beside him, through wind and rain, until they reached the shelter. Inside, space was small, but warm. Soon others arrived. Tyrell fluttered in, feathers damp but eyes bright. Virion moved slowly into the hollow, calm as ever. Seraphine hovered near the entrance, guiding those still searching. Orlean settled quietly along the roots. Together, they waited. Rain thundered outside. But inside, breaths slowed, fears softened, presence deepened. Elwyn looked around. Different creatures, different strengths, different ways of moving through the world. Yet all gathered safely together. When the storm passed, sunlight returned gently. Drops of water clung to leaves, shining like tiny stars. The animals stepped out, one by one, grateful, calm. The mice turned to Elwyn. "You knew where to go," one said. "You guided us," another added. Elwyn looked toward the meadow, then back at his companions. "I remembered what others shared with me," he replied. Seasons turned. Grass grew tall, then golden, then soft again. Elwyn's small hollow no longer felt like a place of waiting. It became a place of welcome. Young mice visited often, curious about the quiet one who listened so carefully. Elwyn told them stories of patience, of courage, of friendship found through honesty. One evening, as twilight settled gently across the land, Elowin stood atop a smooth stone overlooking the meadow. Taurel rested nearby, wings folded. Virion watched the stream's slow flow. Seraphim drifted through the glowing air. Orlean moved steadily along the roots. The field mice gathered nearby, peaceful, connected. Elowin felt the breeze brush his fur, soft, reassuring. He no longer wondered if he belonged. He belonged wherever kindness was shared. He belonged wherever truth was welcomed. He belonged wherever he allowed himself to be seen. And in that quiet moment, Elowin understood something simple and strong. A heart that accepts itself becomes a place where others feel safe. Night arrived gently. Stars appeared, patient and steady. Elowin returned to his hollow, not alone, but surrounded by quiet belonging. He closed his eyes. The longing that once filled his heart had softened into warmth. Not because the world had changed, but because he had chosen to be fully himself. And in being himself, he had found friendship. And in friendship, he had found home. The meadow whispered softly in the night breeze. "You are safe."